Bethel Youth. It's Pastor Pete. Welcome to our second installment of Heroes of the Faith. Today we're talking about Elliot, someone you may have never heard of, but I hope after today you can learn a little bit about her and maybe go and research some of it for yourself. But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our bodies. For we who are alive are always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, so that his life may also be revealed in our mortal body. So then, death is at work in us, but life is at work in you. These are the verses that rolled around Elliot's head as she sat in a hammock in the middle of the Ecuadorian rainforest, living with the very same people who had killed her husband a few years earlier. How did she get here? Well, in 1955, Elizabeth's husband, Jim Elliot, along with other missionaries, Nate Saint, Pete Fleming, and Roger Udarian, made contact with a tribe living in the Ecuador rainforest called the Waodani, or the Auca people. They were a tribe known for violence and had killed off other tribes near them. They had also killed off employees from the Shell Oil Company who were drilling for oil near the Waodani. Jim Elliot wanted to share the gospel with these people that some people wanted to just get rid of. They saw them as a nuisance. But Jim saw them differently. He wanted to share the gospel with them. And so he, along with the others, studied their language and culture and slowly took steps towards making contact with them. And after months of work, they finally landed near the Waodani village. And they interacted with a few people. They were hopeful that they were making progress. But shortly after that, they were speared to death, giving up their lives, even though every one of them had handguns and they could have defended themselves. They never got a chance to tell the people they had worked so hard to meet about Jesus. So you might think that that's the end of the story. You might think, wow, that's a really, really sad story. I bet the Waodani are still in Ecuador, not wanting anything to do with anyone from the outside world and wanting nothing to do with the gospel. But that's actually not where the story ends. It wasn't just a tragic and senseless death of a few men who tried to do what they thought God was calling them to do. Because Jim's wife, Elizabeth, saw it differently. Because she, just like in 2 Corinthians that I read earlier, she thought of herself as a jar of clay. On the outside, nothing special. But on the inside, having the precious gospel of Jesus, having a relationship with Jesus, knowing him. So she did what most of us would think is unthinkable, unbelievable. She went back to the very people who killed her husband a few years before. So after learning their language and traveling to Ecuador, Elizabeth picked up where her husband had left off. And she told the very same people who murdered her husband about Jesus, about the one who was murdered for their sake, so that they could have life. One of the Waodani men who had taken part in killing Jim and the other missionaries was named Minkai, And he went on to become a Christian. And he actually took part in leading one of the missionaries' sons to Jesus. It's an unbelievable story. So what can we learn from Elizabeth and her unbelievable courage? I think we can learn that we are all jars of clay, right? Like on the outside, maybe we're not anything that special. Maybe we're just normal people. But on the inside, if we have Christ, if we know him, we have the hope of the gospel, we have this precious treasure in our hearts that we can share with others. And because of Jesus, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. We're perplexed, but not in despair. We're persecuted, but not abandoned. We're struck down, but we're not destroyed. And I think the second thing that we can learn from Elizabeth's life is, I think we can ask ourselves, how precious is this gift of Jesus? Do we think it's precious enough to go back to the very same people who hurt us, or maybe who hurt someone we love? Is it precious enough to talk with friends we don't like very much anymore, friends who hurt us? Is Jesus precious enough to go to people who don't look like us, people who are different than us, and to love them in the same way that Jesus loves you? How precious is Jesus to you? How precious is Jesus to me? Thanks for watching.